Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Hyte X50. Now, it's a very unique design with lots and lots of curves, including a curved glass window, but not round the front as we've been getting used to, up and over the roof. It's going to come in some rather wacky colours as well, which is going to please many of you out there. I've got the cherry red version because I am a bit partial to a bit of red. And the prices globally are going to be $119 for the all mesh version, and the model that I have here is going to be $149, and there are prices on OC UK already, so that you can go and pre-order if you'd like to. I think stock is due before anyone wants to know. I know some of you are going to watch this video later, but I think it is going to be going live around the 6th of November in the UK. But we need to have a good old look at this because it is a very unique design, and there's lots of bits about it where the engineering is amazing. The curved front panel, for example, is something that I completely fell in love with when I first saw it at Computex. So we really, really need to crack on. Now, we always start at the top and at the front, and that is where the I/O is on this case. But it's a really good chance for us to see the curvature of the front and the sides of the panels as well. So you have your normal power button here, which lights up white, two USB-A's, USB-C, and then a combo port for your headphone and your microphone. The rear panel literally lifts up and out. So it's a good time for us to show you that while we're at the top, and the side panel is the same. There's a fair old amount of weight with the glass, and it can take a couple of tries to get it on, although that's clicked in beautifully where we're on camera, so amazing. Dropping the camera down a little bit though, I do want to show you this panel because it's punched and then bent, and I actually saw some of the test panels they did for this at Computex, and I was amazed at how much work they've put in to make this as good as it is and as seamless as it is without too many deviations, because it would be really hard, or really easy I should say, to have all these holes here looking completely bent and off or torn even during the press process. So they really, really have put in a considerable amount of effort to this front panel. Really need to get some blinds in the office because the lighting can be a bit mad when we've got lots of glass on panels and stuff. But obviously, as you can see, the mesh is everywhere. It comes right the way down the bottom and around as well, and you can just pull the front panel off. And you can actually see that there's even reverses on the back of these. So bending this from a piece of sheet is mental. Like, I am properly impressed every time I look at this. I know it's a bit of an engineering-y nerd thing, but it is what it is. Anyway, fans. The fans that are fitted I actually got sent by Hyte separately because the case does not come with its own fan. So I have a couple of packs of the FA12s. Now they come in 4 packs, which is actually really quite handy because I've got 7 in there, but it does mean I can hold one as well. And the fan cables actually come out the sides. Now they only go up to 1500 RPM, which can be a bit of a, I was going to say a pain initially when you look at it, but wait till we get to the thermals later on and you'll see that you might not have anything to worry about. Now this front panel here can actually be moved in and out. There's some screws at the top and you can literally just shovel it in or move it out so that you can get extra room for your radiator or get the fans closer to the thing that you're cooling. So that's really quite cool. We can also see down here, this is where my fan cables have come out. And the fan cable routing is down the bottom here, but you do have a place at the top as well. I instantly thought it was a shame there wasn't one in the middle, but then that would have fouled the radiator on the other side, so which you'll see. But these cables are actually all hidden. So once you've routed them, it does actually make a really nice feature. I could have done a lot better job with cable tied in, but obviously I haven't got 2 days to set a system up. Swinging around, we've obviously seen the glass panel, but we will come back to that. So power supply at the top. It's actually up here in this upper section where you can see the big box, which again we'll cover in a bit. But sticking to round the back, fairly standard layout, 120mm fan only, and there's some nice cable ties around here for you to be able to zip clip your USBs or your power cable and stuff, and keep the back of your rig nice and tidy. But one of the things that I do want to draw specific attention to are, we'll call them the vents. They are beautiful. Now, effectively, that would have just been a laser cut piece of flat metal, and then all of the individual prongs or pieces, however you want to call them, have then been bent outwards. And this increases airflow massively, and it's actually something that they're trying to patent, so it's a patent pending. I actually love the back of this so much. I think there's an argument to have it at the front. Well, I haven't pushed the front panel back on. I think there's actually an argument to have that on the front, because this is, I just can't explain why I like it so much. I don't want it round the back of the case hidden. It does increase airflow significantly over normal holes and the like, but it's just turned it into such a wonderful feature as well. The IO covers round the back, they're all, sorry, the expansion slot covers, whatever you want to call them, I would call them PCI slot covers. They are all like it as well. Now, moving on to the back, large mesh panel, and it's a really good time for us to be able to talk about the fact there are two models, and you've got the lower 119 model, and then you've got the upper model, which is 149. I've got the 149, but if you want the cheaper model, this is just another mesh panel. Although, weirdly, in the guide that they send with the case, they do say that the mesh panel can actually adversely affect temps because it messes up with airflow. So you save money, but you can get slightly higher temps. You would genuinely think it would be the other way round, wouldn't you? But anyway, popping this lovely curved panel off again on the back, and we do expose a 360mm radiator mount, but we will talk about that when we get into the inside properly. But first things for us to talk about is it is all grommeted. There are lots of grommets down this side of the case, and there are some at the top of the motherboard tray as well. They're very funky looking, and they do look pretty good from the other side, which we'll show you again in a minute. And then there are two more at the top as well. Lovely accessible grommets. It means you can get your 8-pin in without it causing too many problems. You can also have two 2.5 inches and a 3.5 inch hard drive on this at the same time if you want it over here. But there is so much room for cabling around the back of the case. It is ridiculous. Like, there is huge amounts of room. Power supply at the top. I do need to talk to you about the power supply when we are on the other side, as in the fact that they've gone to such great lengths to do all of the meshing and the vents and stuff, but the power supply just has a single round hole on it, and I'm really not a fan of it. I'm just going to remove the glass so I can show you. I'm really not a fan of it at all. It feels like a bit of an afterthought considering everything else that's been done to some huge extent. I've also got a complete curveball, and it isn't something for the mass market, but ITX power supplies are getting significantly better. Lanley, Corsair, Cooler Master. Cooler Master have got an 1100 watt and a 1300 watt one this size. Corsair have a 650, an 850 and a 1000. They've also got a 1000L, which is slightly longer. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is this section at the top here is for the power supply, and it could have been that big. We could have had ample room up there, and it could have literally been sat up there out the way with enough air, and it would have effectively have ended at the end of the IO. So we would have cut off a huge amount of this box. Also, if they'd made the case a little bit wider, it could have literally just gone in the back panel down here, like completely up in this corner, and it would have meant that we wouldn't have had to have had this at all, and we would have had loads more visibility down into the case. Yes, it is very limiting with the ITX, but it's just something that I just wanted to bring up because putting the power supply up here to me makes it feel like it has blanked off so much of the main chamber. So when we're looking down, this is obviously all just displaying the red with the glass, and it feels like you're losing half of the reason to have had the glass up here. I'd love to be able to just see down at everything really clearly and it all be nice and tidy. Now the only good thing I can see about this being here like this is that it provides a fair amount of shade around your CPU area, and Hyte have an AIO with a massive screen on it. We're hoping that the 360mm version will be back on the market again soon, but it provides you a decent amount of shade so that you can see the screen better. I don't think it particularly needed it though. And if you imagine that we could have had this box shrunk back to at least this kind of level, so it would have barely come into the glass at all, I actually think there's a fair argument for the fact of it's quite a quirky case anyway. Maybe we could have done that. Maybe we could have had two options where we could have pulled this off and reduced it for an ITX version. I don't know, maybe just have an ITX version of the case at all, completely. But like I said, you've got two very distinct options, and that one fits in with everything that as it would now, and it would still have had room to have been able to have breathed and pulled air up the back. And then the other option was a case redesign where you have the power supply up this way, and then the air would have been pulled in through the mesh, and then we would have had a completely open chamber over here. Again, it's just me discussing possibilities, but it has made me want to chop the case up so that I can fit an ITX power supply in it just to prove the point. And if it wasn't for the fact that samples are so late, I probably would have done it for the video. Now, as I said, with the fans, I did get sent a couple of packs of fans. So I have 3 in the front for intake, 3 in the bottom for intake, and I've left this side alone. They do say though, which was very interesting in the guide, that having fans in the bottom can adversely affect some graphics cards. So they do say some graphics cards just like this left as passive. The only thing about with this only really a 120 as exhaust in the back, it does make airflow kind of complicated, because if you've got a CPU cooler up here and you want to run an AIO and have it over here, I'm going to say have your AIO exhaust in out the back so that you're dumping the air out the back and bring air in the bottom. But it is going to confuse matters. If you have an AIO pushing out the side, but you have those intakes coming in there, it is literally going to get sucked straight through. So you are going to need bottom airflow as well. They do say though that for the majority of cases in the front, some airflow for the graphics card, and the 120 in the back is the optimal airflow path. And I have tested it, and I can attest to the fact that it is incredible for airflow. And I do mean incredible for airflow. It's quite literally a keep it simple, stupid scenario where they've just worked on the fact that the air can get in and the air can get out, and the rest does its job. The fans only go up to 1500 RPM and they still smashed it out the park. It's one of the best airflow cases I have ever tested. And one of the things you do need to understand is a lot of people say, why are you still using an air cooler? Well, I'm not testing an AIO. I'm testing airflow in the case. If I put an AIO in, it changes the airflow in the case. It makes things all very complicated. But by running an air cooler, and this kit never changes, it means we can drop it into another case and compare everything quite fairly. So sure, yes, there's another route that we could take by banging an AIO in, but it does overcomplicate matters. You know that if it works well with an air cooler, your AIO, it's only going to be a case of where you mount it and where the exhaust is going. Normally I would have an AIO in the roof. In this case, I would definitely have it in the back as an exhaust, and I would probably get rid of those front fans completely and just have in the bottom passive here and then an airflow path out the back, but also with the rear fan on exhaust. I would not be setting the rear fan up as an intake personally. It just makes my teeth itch. Radiators, up to a 70mm radiator in the side down here, or 70mm of room in entirety with your fans. You can go up to 105mm of room in the front as well, including the fans. So you can get some big beefy radiators in there. You can do the maths, most fans are 25mm. So you could have a set of fans and an AIO rad in the side and still have a big chunky water cooling radiator up here. I know that's a combo you're probably not going to go with, but it would be an option. So you will have the room there. You do have to go careful with the placement of your front panel fans though, because it can get spaced out and it can get spaced in. If you want that 105mm of room on this side, you are going to have to push it all the way out, which is going to get the fans out near the mesh. It's not going to matter though. It's just something that you will have to remember. It does need to be configured. The only thing that I didn't really like on the inside, in the grand scheme of things, is the floor here is plastic, and I didn't think the plastic colour was very close to anything else. There's some plastic in other parts in the case, and it's just, I'm a bit of a tone freak and I can see differences. It's very similar with the feet as well. The feet are a slightly off colour. It's worth noting with the feet, by the way, we've got some lovely sort of like armed feet on the bottom, and the red, the white and the black have those. All of the other colours have what they're calling little paws, so it's like little circular dobs on the bottom for the other coloured models. I do need to add that there is a dust filter which is magnetic in the bottom of the case, and it literally does just grab on and sit there, and I forgot to mention it, so I'm doing a really bad edit and chucking it in. So if you're looking for a quirky airflow case, I genuinely do think the X50 is worth a look. It is and can be set up to perform outstanding. If you're thinking about an air cooler, some people still do, some people still like them. It's almost a no-brainer because the little 212 on this absolutely loved it. Graphics cards are also going to love the bottom airflow options that you've got here. If you definitely have to have an AIO, then as I've said, I would just be plonking it down the side, and then you just have some decisions to make about airflow in the front. The only way that you can really find out though is by fitting them and then running your tests and seeing if having them on or off makes any difference. I think it's a Saturday job really, where if you're really interested in tuning your PC and fine-tuning it and making sure everything's absolutely perfect, turning things on and off just to run some thermals isn't a problem. Download OCCT, download hardware monitor so that you can track your minimum and your maximum temps, and just run some numbers. You can literally do it while you're playing games if you want. You don't even have to turn it into a benchmark test. I do think there's an argument for a little bit of a mod with an ITX power supply as well. There are loads of them about now at decent wattages. Corsair do the 1000L. I would happily bolt a 5080 to that. Cooler Master actually have an 1100 watt and a 1300 watt ITX model. The only thing I found with their one specifically was the fan was that little bit more noticeable. It was an excessively safe fan curve, and it was one of the things I wished I could have configured. But it's, if you're one of those people that's going to be running air cooling and stuff anyway, you probably won't even hear it. It's just because I'm a bit of a quiet freak, and a lot of the time when I am running rigs, and I don't mean the power supply tester because I do have one, when I'm running rigs, I'm in a nigh on silent room, and that's just so that I can tune in on where all the noise and stuff is coming from. So there are lots of options out there. Lanley do the white one. They do some Meteor white ones, wattage wise as well. But there are loads of options if you fancy breaking a Dremel out. Maybe one or two of you might end up doing that in the next couple of years. I know I've wasted a lot of time talking about it, but it is genuinely an option that made me think about what I could do with it to fix what I think is the elephant in the room, and that is the power supply cover or housing taking up half of the roof, which is glass. It's the one thing about the case I wish it wasn't there. I wish they put it somewhere else. Maybe at the front of the case or something like this. There's so many places it could have been, and I understand why it's here, but the fact it's here with all of this glass being covered up, it just doesn't sit well with me. Now, would I cut it up and use it without that in the top? Personally, yes. But I don't think I personally would want to use it with all of this covered up here. It just feels a bit of a shame, and like this viewing angle is going to be a bit lost. But it's going to get us all talking. It's going to get a lot of you buying. I know that. I know a lot of you are just going to run out and grab one. A, it's got the name Hyte on it, but B, the fact that the thermals and the airflow is going to be outstanding. For some of you out there, this will be something that really won't matter. Could obviously put stickers on it and make a design point out of this. It's a blank canvas to have something hidden underneath it. You could also, if you were really creative, get some LEDs hidden in to sort of like light it as well. There's loads of options if you can be bothered. If you can't, and you just want an air-cooled rig that's going to work really, really well and keep all of your temps down, it's a bit of a no-brainer. So, which side of the fence do you sit on? I would love to hear your comments underneath. Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.